All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday, March 11th, 2025 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Let's begin with rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, shall we read the notice?
Okay.
Well, sorry, before we get to the notice for this particular item, we do have one other agenda item before that, which is the minutes. So the minutes from the last 4 months, because Jan Battersby has been transitioning out, and we have our wonderful new administrator, Terry McNeil. Welcome, Terry. And she has already handed me a draft of these, but I need to look through them and discuss them with her before we can approve them. So hopefully next month we will have minutes for all past meetings that have not been covered.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes for October 8th,
Second.
2024, November 19th, 2024, December 10th, 2024, and January 14th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. All right. All right, now we can read the public notice for 922 Dale Street.
All right. Notice is hereby given that the North Andover Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing at the North Andover Town Hall at 128 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. On Tuesday, March 11th, 2025 at 7:30 to all parties interested in the petition of Joseph William McCarthy for property at 922 Dale Street, map 104A, parcel 0061, North Andover, Mass. 01845 in the R1 zoning district. Applicant is requesting a variance pursuant to the Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 195-7.1A, contiguous building area in the R1 zoning district for the purpose of constructing a single-family home on a vacant lot, contingent upon the planning board's approval, subdividing the lot into 2 parcels. Specifically, applicant has requested CBA needing a relief variance of 3,457 square feet. The CBA proposed is 61,883 square feet, or 71% of the total lot area, and the CBA required is 65,340 square feet, or 75% of the total lot area. The applicant is requesting a variance pursuant to Town of North Andover zoning bylaws, section 195-7.3 yards. Setbacks, table 2, summary of dimensional requirements for one side setback in the R1 zoning district for the purpose of constructing a single-family home on a vacant lot contingent upon the planning board's approval, subdividing the lot into 2 parcels. Specifically, applicant has requested a side setback needing a relief variance of 2.7 feet. Side setback proposed is 27.3 feet. Side setback required per table 2 is 30 feet. Do I read this last paragraph?
Yep.
Application and supporting materials are available for review at the Office of the Zoning Board located at 120 Main Street, North Andover, Mass. on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from the hours of 8 to 4, Tuesday from the hours of 8 to 5:30, and Friday from the hours of 8 to 11:30. By the order of appeals, Michael T. Liss, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. All right. So who do we have speaking for the applicant today? All right.
I have several large survey maps, if you'd like to look at these.
Sure. Are they the same as the ones that you have given us? They're just blow-ups?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
There are 2. And I have a small one that I like to reference.
I can hold it up if you guys want it.
Probably put our nameplates underneath it to keep it from...
Hold open.
Yeah.
Do you want to turn it the other way so it's facing us?
Yes. So if you can please give us your name.
Yes, my name is Joseph McCarthy.
Okay.
I live at 922 Dale Street, North Andover. This is my variance. And before I begin, I'd just like to, thank several town employees, Paul Hutchins, Gene Onright, just helping me put together what you have in front of you. They said, look, you can do this by yourself, Joe. So I thank them very much, as well as their departments. So the goal here is to obtain ZBA variance approval for eventual approval by the planning board to split my land, that is 922 Dale Street, into two lots, parcel number 1, which I will keep, parcel number 2, which I will sell to Dr. Arthur Gonzalez over here. I live in residential zone number 1, where the minimum lot size is 2 acres. Now, the variance, 2 elements. The CBA, 75% required of 2 acres. My parcel of land, which will be 3.48 acres, will have that 75%. The other parcel, looking to sell, will have 71%, or roughly 3,500 square feet short. It will still be 97% open space. Right now, I have 99% open space. If the land is split, I will have 98% open space. One of the questions that they have here in the variance is, which I found to be strange, but perhaps relevant, is what harm would be caused to me if I didn't split the land? Well, look at me. I'm almost 79 years old. I lived in North Andover for most of my life. I want to continue to live here for the remainder of my life, or until I go into a nursing home. But this is my home. I don't want to have to leave. I live in fixed income. I do not have a pension. I don't plan to go anywhere at this particular time. That's a potential hardship that could be caused to me if this is not granted. There are other options that I'd rather not mention at this particular time. These other options, if this is not approved by the town, really are not good for the neighbors and me.
Hey, can I ask you, just so for the board's understanding, since you're dividing the lot into 2 parcels, right?
And that would be through the planning board, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Was there any apportionment of those 2 lots that would end up with both of them meeting the continuous buildable area?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Let's quickly take a look at the map we have here. The top of the map is roughly due north. You can see on the right side, the east part of the map, the wetlands. It goes from the south side of my property almost to the tip of the north side. And it's less than half an acre. The killer is the buffer zone, including the buffer zone on the other side of the Dale Street, the land that belongs to a neighbor. So that buffer zone is almost 2 acres.
Yeah.
So my parcel will be 1.5 acres of CBA, which is required. The other parcel will be 1.421 acres, which is around 3,500 square feet short. You'll see here too, around the center, near the bottom, what happened a year or 2 ago is I was in contact with the DPW, Jim Stanford, and people that work for him, and I said, look, there is an obstruction. In 1953, Dale Street was widened and straightened, and a lot of the construction, demolition debris, asphalt and so forth was buried on my property. And when I first moved there in 1996, and it goes down right near the end before it goes under the culvert in Dale Street, it goes down about 5 feet or so. And you can see the water percolating from the subsurface.
Yeah.
And then it slowed up, and then it started to overflow. And I have a stone wall there, and it was covered all kinds of miscellaneous debris, and I was told, whoa, this is wetlands, you can't touch it. So what happened is water actually backed up on my property. Water's been backed up on my property for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And so what the
It became
town
its own
did,
ecosystem.
so the town said, we have an easement there, Joe, we'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
And they did. And when they removed the obstruction, there was actually like a wave that went right across Dale Street of water, and then within a minute or two, it subsided.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a flooding problem.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a backup since that time. So kudos to the Public Works Department. They have an easement there, they addressed the problem. That went past my land incidentally, and it's okay right now. I have 8 parcels of land, and I know some of the neighbors that are adjacent to my land. And all of those parcels are approximately 1 acre. But it was rezoned many years ago,
Right.
and now it's 2 acres.
Yep.
And residential zone 1, there aren't that many large pieces of land.
Yep.
Most of them are 1 acres. And I said, oh, well, okay. My proposed lot would consist of 142,710 square feet, or roughly 3.2 acres. And the wetlands buffer zone will be 77,390 square feet. The CBA required 65,340 square feet. That's what I'll have. However, the proposed lot, it's a 2-acre lot. It'll be 87,120 square feet. The wetlands, the buffer zone is 25,186 square feet. The CBA is 61,883 square feet. And as she said earlier, I need about 3,457 square feet to have 75%. I don't. I have 71% CBA.
Okay.
I'm off by 4%. And through Norse Engineering, I hired a wetland engineer. She came there. She put flags all over the place. And then she contacted the Conservation Commission director who came, and they looked at everything, and everything was fine, except for the director said, well, we got to go across the street. And if they didn't go across the street, I probably wouldn't even be here right now. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You're creating your own lot line, right? So
Yes.
why aren't you just shifting the lot line so that you have essentially everything you need?
Because there is not enough CBA. I need 3 acres between the 2 lots. I'm 3,500 plus feet short. I just don't have it.
You said, though, that you would have, your lot would have 100%, right?
Yes, 100% of the CBA,
So the,
which is 1.5 acres
I thought-
of CBA.
Just a clarification question for me. I thought CBA was in percentage of the total area.
Total required area.
Right.
2 acres.
Oh, I
So if
see.
you have a 2.5 acre lot.
I gotcha.
You still only need an acre and a
So if
half
they
of
shifted,
CBA.
like, for instance, the rear property line of Lot 1 closer to Dale Street to allow for another 3,000 feet to go into Lot 2, they wouldn't have the full acre or and a half
Exactly.
in Lot
But
1.
then that would make Lot 1 non-conforming, but Lot 1 already has a house. And, I mean, would that be
So you
probably?
can't do it.
You can't do it,
That's
yeah.
just validity. You can't do that. You
Yeah.
can't make the other lot non-conforming.
And this is one of the, Paul helped me, and other people in the town helped me on this. And he said, no, Joe, you have to have 1.5 acres of CBA
In the new
on
lot.
your lot that you're gonna keep.
Yeah, and
So
then
I
over,
said,
yeah.
okay on that. And one thing I do want to make very, very clear, certainly last but not least, the back half of my property, about 3 acres, is hay. It has been farmed since I've been there. It's been farmed. Lived in North Andover for most of my life. It's been farmed for the last 40, 50 years. It probably has been farmed for the last several hundred years. It is very rich soil. It will not be touched at all. There'll be a contractual agreement, understanding between plot number 2, or parcel number 2 owner and me. That back of the property won't be touched. It will stay just like it is. And I know the neighbors, they're there all the time. You can see them at sunset. You can see them at sunrise. We're not going to touch that. And we will have that in writing. It's only the front, it's only the corner of Winter Street and Dale Street where this house is to be built if all goes well. The other variance, and you can see on the,
Well, before we get to the setback, I just
Sure.
want to check in with other board members here. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask regarding specifically the CBA?
No, I think my only question was actually about the setback, so I'm happy to
Okay, great.
move on to
So
that.
let's move on to the setbacks. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, the other variance, and you can see here, you can see the dark black line, and it's on the bottom, the midsection here. It shows for the house that Dr. Gonzalez is proposing, it's 27.3 feet from the property line. So the setback is 2.7 feet. Variance, the setback variance. Now, what I did before this meeting, because I have a lot depending on what happens at this meeting, is I've done a lot of research. I went over a number of your prior ZBA meetings, and what I'm requesting is not out of the norm. For example, on 6/13/23, 335 Salem Street, they wanted, they had 61.6% CBA, and that was approved. On November the 14th, 2023, 0 Winter Street, Lot 15, they had 47% CBA,
Yeah.
and that was approved. I have 96% CBA.
So in a moment, just because we'll want you to introduce yourself and list your things. But I just want to, before we get to that, I just want to say that certainly I appreciate the sense of like, these are things that have been approved before. I also want to stress that we don't necessarily work on a system of precedent like a court of law would.
Understand.
And so just want to set that expectation.
You see, that's one of the first things I did like a year or two ago. I said, well, is there any precedence here?
Yeah.
Should I even go forward?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Or what should I do with my land? Should I have like a solar farm there, whatever? What am I going to do if I have to afford to stay here?
Yeah.
So I took a look at quite a few of your decisions, and I'm saying, this is not out of the norm. This is consistent with them.
All right, so Mr. Gonsalves, I think you wanted to give some input on the reason for the setback as well.
My
Dr.
name's Arthur.
Gonsalves, sorry.
My name's Arthur Gonsalves, and I am a physician, but I also am a general contractor. And my involvement with the property was that Joe had asked for an in-law apartment to be built, and my team and my company built the property, a space, and of course spent a whole year essentially out there working, and certainly appreciated the beauty of the fields and the character of that section of North Andover. I was raised next to Harold Parker State Forest in Andover and grew up, since I was 5 years old, so 55 years in the Andover area. And when we were just talking on our personal business matters, it was discussed as a possibility to have some sort of arrangement where the land would be bought in exchange for things. Obviously, that's between us. But when I picked out a spot, when we came to an agreement, that was why I, wanted to be sure that it was on the corner and that it was in the highest land of the entire property, well away from the wetland. There was a suitable lot right in the middle of the field, which is out of the question for spoiling the nature of that section. And then the particular style of house that I picked out, and there's some iterations still being done, but it's a modern farmhouse style. It's not a McMansion. It's a good size house, but it has the farmer's porch and the decor that would be suitable for that area of the town. That little corner, just the way we had to break up the land, there was no other way but for this to, we were just going to come up short, as we said, by that small percentage. And then I ran into the same situation with the plans on the house, that if I just knock the corner of the proposed house in Lot 1, I'm going to lose one garage spot, and if I move it forward or sideways, I'm just always going to bump up against something. And since we have a relationship, and I asked him if he would be okay, but obviously we need the town's approval to have the corner of the of the building be within, you know, the boundaries, and that's how that came about.
Yeah. I mean, certainly if you're gonna have a setback variance, I prefer it to be on the side that is neighboring the house
Yeah.
of the other lot that this is coming from. So that is certainly preferable there.
Yeah. And
Any
that's-
other thoughts or questions for Dr. Gonzalez?
Yeah, I think my only question, sorry, not to suggest that it's a large variance that you're requesting, but I guess my question is, you know, given the relatively generous size of the house, were there not options available to you that would have, you know, taken that corner in the 2.7 feet and therefore
Yeah, having a
have you in
two-car garage
compliance?
instead of a three-car garage.
I mean, the size of, yeah, the size of the garage, that is the garage side, is not, you know, obviously getting the lot is the most important thing. You know, I have 7 people in my family, you know, which is kind of rare nowadays, but I come from a large family and a large extended family. And so it was just simply that, you know, that spot is ultimately where I imagine myself being with one of my children being there, and this is, you know, where I hope to have a similar situation of an in-law apartment and, you know, just getting that extra spot. But that's all it was, is that if that corner is the deal breaker of everything happening, then I would give it up, and you know, you just lose that spot. But the rest
the
of,
application indicated you were building a house for your daughter?
yeah, so
Yeah.
it is, yeah, that's correct. What I'm speaking about is that, you know, so that'd be 2 adults. What's the point of the third spot? And the third spot is that ultimately, I imagine my wife and I having an in-law apartment above the garage, which is what Joe has, and just looking out on the same field that he is, and so that's why I was trying to nudge that's all,
That's
you
the
know.
long-term plan, is what he's saying.
I'm 60 years old, it's not that long, you know? So,
Younger than I am.
The days are long, but the years are short, right?
It's good planning.
We're cousins, okay? And it's nice to say that there are some winners in the family, because there are members of our family that are not winners at all.
Are you sure you want a big house then? I don't know.
You sure you want that in the public record?
I mean, that was gonna be my question, is why a 3-car garage instead of a 2-car garage that would
Yeah, the
easily
oth-
fit in, but.
this is absolutely gonna happen too, so the other pitch is that we're, you know, planning that whole south face to be solar, and so to be completely a net zero house, I need that face, the 2-car. If you look at the plan, well, you don't have the full details, but where it cuts into the other house, you're not gonna have that much surface area for the
You mean
for
where the
panels.
gable is?
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
yeah.
Like right there? Where the gable is, that's
So-
not that much, so it's really just over the garage, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, so exactly, that's where it's gonna be, it's just there, which is facing Dale Street, correct. I don't wanna put it on the front because I wanna preserve, if you're on Winter Street, I want to have the modern farmhouse look, and I just, the solar panels right across the front, plus, that's almost pure sun, you
Yeah,
know, that's
southern
the
exposure.
ideal spot for it anyway, you know.
Yeah.
Wait, did I just miss something? Am I seeing 4 garages?
No,
No,
3.
no, it's just,
This
So
is-
what's this glass panel overhead door that's across from the 3rd-car garage?
it's just like,
So right here,
That's just like if you want to get your lawnmower out to the property in the back. I
That's the back
can't
of
see
the
it really well. Is that the door that's in the back?
So it's not attached to a driveway, for example?
No.
well, there's no driveway on the, am I missing a driveway on the plans?
Well, yeah, so ultimately the driveway issue with, you know, with planning in the building is that they marked so there's some trees there that are over 6. I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but the driveway, there's a tree in the way of the driveway. There's 4 dead trees on Winter Street. When they cut the street down to make it closer to the grade that they wanted, they inadvertently killed 4 trees just from cutting half the root system. And so when that's all brought,
Yeah,
when
trees
the
don't like
land is brought down to the street, there's a tree in the way of the driveway, so I didn't put it on the plan, but it's gonna have to be solved. I have to come off Winter Street because of the way this all laid out. It looks like it's some jerry-rigged, gerrymandered cutting up of the lot. Again, since we're not doing anything in the back and we're, family, we didn't care how it was, but it was insisted that his property that will remain his has to be in compliance, and so that's how it looked crazy like that. We just had a straight line down the middle, and the property that would be mine would have been fine, and I would have had plenty of land for everything, but his would have been badly non-conforming, and so that's how we ultimately settled on this.
Yeah, I mean, this does seem like asking the least to get exactly what they want. Its question, I guess, would be, is that
Do we grant them
okay?
exactly what
Exactly.
they want? Any other questions before we move to the next stage? All right,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any comments from the audience who would like to come forward and speak?
I'll just throw out there that the whole purpose of these meetings is so that we can have input from neighbors or people within the community. If you don't speak now, forever hold your peace.
It's like a wedding.
Not just for weddings.
Yeah.
Not just for weddings. Very useful.
Hopefully this lasts just as
Little
long,
ominous,
right?
but
Hopefully no one comes running in like, no.
Tim Lane, 21 Russet Lane.
Hi there.
Hi. Just a couple comments. One, there was I don't want to call it a threat, but I don't want to talk about what else I'm going to do if I don't get this variance, and I'd like to know what else you're going to do if you don't get this variance, because obviously if there's something worse, I would not like it. And I have.
Probably would move, to be honest with you. That's really unacceptable, but that's probably what I'd move.
Okay. The other question or comment I guess I had is the hardship on this one. You mentioned you built an in-law apartment, and I assume maybe you're moving into that, and maybe your son is moving into the house.
Okay, hold on a second. The folks speaking need to be on the
Sorry.
microphone, just for the sake of public
Yeah.
record and things like that. So can we take this one at a time?
Yeah,
And then you
sure.
can say
Sorry.
everything you need, and then you can reply?
But it's fine. I'll just make my
Okay.
comments. and
I'd
then you
rather
can
not
reply.
have this be a
Yeah.
multi-way discussion.
Yeah, it's just the I need to move out because I can't afford the house, but he just put a pretty massive addition on the back of his farmhouse for an in-law apartment, which I heard he was going to move into, and his son was going to move into the house, which is great, but it kind of made me question or not understand why there was a hardship from a financial perspective if that was kind of the move you made, but I don't need to understand.
Well, and I do want to make clear, when in the zoning board, when we talk about hardship, we actually don't talk about financial hardship. We talk about hardship in terms of soil shape and topography.
Yeah.
The idea that the zoning laws as they are, if they were applied literally to this property, wouldn't make proper sense. That is sort of our standard
Yeah.
that we work from.
Okay. So I guess it doesn't make sense either way. But I do have a concern now about hearing that the new house is going to have basically two families in it, an in-law apartment and a regular house. Our school systems are already strapped. We probably should just stick to what our zoning is so that we're not, adding more and more people to the community.
Where are you in relation to the property?
So I'm on 21 Russet, so the first house.
So like, help me out here.
Over here.
Somewhere over.
Yeah, you're in.
Okay, so you are in a butter to the property.
Yeah. You're in
Thank you.
you're in the notes when you're pointing.
Yeah,
so I didn't say
Timothy
anything.
Lane is right there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It is a little confusing because it looks like Russell Lane on the.
Yeah, it's a typo
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the plan there.
but it is Russell Lane.
Okay.
Yeah.
That now is making more sense.
Yeah.
Can you
If
come up
you
to
have
the-
to come up if you
Sorry,
want.
I apologize to make everybody do this, but it's
Have you
way
For the
had
record.
any kind of flooding issues or anything like that?
No,
Any
we're,
issues
we're,
with
we're
your
kind of up.
Yeah, we're significantly higher. I'm
Higher.
not sure how or what was done when the development was subdivided, but we're we're above the wetlands.
Could you
Can you
also
get-
introduce
Oh,
yourself?
Amy
Yes,
Bergeron,
please.
21 Russet Lane, the other owner. So no, we've not had any flooding issues related to that. I mean, it is a significant slope from Russet Lane down to our property, down to the wetlands. I mean, I don't know what that impact would be over time as well.
So the impact to you all would be mainly about increased density in the
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, I mean,
Can
it's
you
been open
see the
farmland.
property from where
We
you
can,
are?
we would be able to, we can see obviously the backfield and sitting in, you know, the back area of our property, we would be able to look over and see where this house is proposed to be. It was never disclosed on any of the documentation that this was proposed to be a two-family, as we just heard. I didn't see that anywhere, and we've gone
Well,
through all of the
I
documentation.
think the
not being
proposed
built.
building is to be a single family with either what would be an ADU or a family suite,
Okay,
which would be a separate issue that would come down the road.
Yeah, and-
Okay.
But yeah, that's not defined as two-family, by
Okay,
the way
well,
our
okay.
zoning works. So, just
Yeah.
to be clear, that still is counted as one family
yeah.
zoning.
And I
Okay.
believe in this zone, they would need a special permit to add an in-law suite.
No.
A family suite, you do, except for ADU
ADU is by right.
Yeah.
is by right.
So
Gotcha.
technically,
Okay.
they could put a accessory house right where he wants to put it with nobody involved in it.
Say that again?
They could put an accessory dwelling of 900 square feet
Okay,
right where they want to put this house right now without anybody having to go through anybody right now.
okay,
That's what the new ADU law is, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
And I could do that.
yeah, okay.
he could put a solar farm on there, which is by right, that's under the Dover Amendment too. There's things he could do just on that, without even, I have no control over it anymore, you know what I
Okay.
mean? It's like,
I think the only other thing I heard was we'll put it in writing that the house will go in that exact spot. Is that part of the process of this approval, is the
So-
house would go there and then maybe not later just decide to move it into the back corner if there's enough
So
room?
if we accept this variance, we will cite the plans with the house on them. And so if
With
they want to build something else, they then have to come back.
Or somewhere else, I think is more
Yeah.
important to me than
Yes.
something else.
Yeah,
Yes.
anything other than what is on the
Okay,
plans
On the
that we
sheet.
reference.
Yeah.
right,
Unless it's smaller, I guess it's fine.
okay. That was the only comment.
Okay.
We love the field, though.
I can help you on that.
All the neighbors love it.
Yeah.
The plans are gonna be built, if he changes anything, they'd have to come back before them. They could shrink it and make it smaller, but they can't go outside the footprint that they have showing right now.
Again, I'm just more worried about it just moving somewhere else.
it
That
can't.
would be
There has to be
probably a
reg-
lot more detrimental to the neighborhood than.
It would have to be exactly what they're proposing in front of us right now.
Okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board before we move to our next step? All right, Mr. McCarthy, would you come back up for a sec? All right, so we are at the point where, do you vote, first, do you have any additional comments that you'd like to make before we move on?
No.
Okay. Then the options before you is that if you so desire, we can move to a vote. So we'll close the public comment and we would deliberate amongst ourselves in public, but we would deliberate amongst ourselves. So no more further input from outside of our group. And then we'll vote. And like all variances, we need a supermajority. So you need 4 out of 5 of us voting yes. Do you want to proceed?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. So, public comment is closed, and we are now deliberating. So, would anybody like to start us off?
I'll open my mouth. I think, don't get me wrong, I get that what they're looking for, the 2.7 is incredibly small, but it's so incredibly small it could be avoided.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I understand planning for the future, believe you me, I do. They could keep the 3-car garage and make, I don't know, I think it's the kitchen, you know,
Slightly
what
smaller.
are we talking? 2.7 feet smaller. I think it's a matter of they want what they want, and there wasn't much for a budge. And unfortunately, it goes hand in hand with the CBA, so,
Well, I mean, can we can't separate the two?
no.
That's my question. I
No,
was
the
gonna ask
the
that too.
problem is that the application is put in, well, yeah, it's put in as one application. I don't think we've ever split them.
Separated,
I don't think you
okay.
can. Because they're looking for, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever split.
We could have them come back
So you could have them come back, there you go.
and take it out and come back and
But I don't
Or
think.
separate them,
You,
yeah.
you can't, you can't separate it.
Okay, so if we vote today, we are choosing to,
It is
All or nothing.
all or nothing.
yeah.
And then even if they came back just with the CBA variance, it would have to wait 2 months? Is that the
Years.
2 years?
Yeah, it's 2 years.
It would be yeah, it's,
Would you say that again?
so when you get denied, unless you have a substantial, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
Yeah,
Because I'm
no,
not
no.
perfect on this.
No, this is what I remember.
Unless there's a substantial change, it can't come back for 2 years. We had this problem with the hair salon on 114, where they had, side topic, but they wanted to build something. They actually had gotten denied. They came back with changes, and the board actually found it was enough, but I believe planning didn't find it was enough. So they got denied, and you couldn't come back for 2 years.
I guess
And
that was,
So
so
if the changes
substantial,
aren't deemed substantial,
And I don't
it's
know,
deemed to be the
It would
same
have to be a
application,
radically
essentially?
different plan. It would not just be moving.
it can't just be like eliminating a variance.
unfortunately, I don't think eliminating a 2.7-foot variance
It's big enough.
would be
So-
enough.
Even if we as the board request the change.
Well, here's the problem, right?
We
Here's
can't.
the problem. The applicant just, and I'm sorry, I don't mean
Yeah.
to be, the applicant just closed the meeting. So the board is now limited on what the board can do. The
Got it.
board has two
We-
options. You approve or you deny. That's the whole purpose of, is there anything further? Is there anything? Because we've
Got it.
now shut it.
Yep, no, got it.
Is it truly too late to ask if they want to continue? I don't know.
I've never been in the position, I'm not chair.
To
Yeah.
reopen the
I-
meeting.
I've
to-
never moved to reopen a meeting, and
I guess what's troubling to me about that is I don't think the applicant is aware.
Yeah, I do not feel comfortable hitting them with this that way. I don't feel that was, I did not certainly inform them sufficiently.
you were the chair.
So I am, before we do anything like that, I would be open to reopening this meeting if
It seemed necessary.
the board deems it necessary. But I am not going to do it without permission from the rest of you.
I mean, so let's get a pulse check on everyone. Like,
I'm in favor of reopening to allow this discussion to be reflected in further comments from the applicant.
Okay.
Because I, for one, didn't know that rule, I'll admit. I think they're probably not aware of it.
but like in a pulse check, like,
Well,
are you,
So impulse check,
Oh,
I'm
you mean
denying.
on overall?
I'm denying.
I think
which way
this
are
is
you
what it's-
leaning?
I-
Yeah.
Where are
I'm
you
on the
going?
fence, to be honest, if it means, if it means a 2-year wait to come back with a changed, but perhaps not substantially changed application, that would eliminate the side.
But if it didn't
Side
mean
yard
that, like
issue.
just taking them on their own merits, like, do you think the setback variance would be a problem for you?
I have a bit of a problem with it because I think it's completely elective. I mean, I sort of in isolation, if the circumstances were different, it's a relatively small request, but the fact that it's completely by
It's
choice,
self-created.
I think that
Yeah.
I do have a bit of a problem.
I'm very much of the same opinion, and I did not realize we couldn't
Separate.
separate the two.
Yeah.
So I apologize for not being up on that as I should have been.
I, as chair, was not either, so that's my fault too.
Just,
It's all of us.
Maybe we give
Hold
her
on.
all of our
So-
civil grace.
if we go back in time, he did say that the CBA was more important
Yeah,
than the setback.
right, and I think we all agree that that is the case.
He
And so,
spoke that, he was willing to,
right, and so I think
Reopening the meeting.
So I think reopening the meeting makes the most sense. Can I
Is that
get a
the only
motion,
way to?
please?
Well.
It's the only way to unwind this.
Okay.
I think that the only question would be if we feel comfortable enough as the board to move forward with it anyways. But I don't love the idea of shutting it all down if the only complaint is the setback. If there's 2 votes here that are not gonna wanna deal with the CBA, then we also should consider that as to whether or not we wanna reopen.
Well,
Because if
before
we're gonna deny that anyways, then it doesn't matter.
I was just gonna say, I think before you go trying to unwind the clock and doing something
Yeah.
that kind of is really different,
Yeah.
I would first try and figure out whether or not, you know, if you're taking a vote right now, I can tell you right now, if you're asking me for a vote right now, I'm saying no.
Okay.
Just because of the setbacks or because of the CBA also?
Because of the setback. I understand the CBA and I understand all of his concerns and issues, and yes, I am somebody who wanting, you know, people to be able to stay in town. I think this is very much self-created, and I think if you're asking for one thing, this something so little should be addressed. So then the issue becomes is I'm out. If the 4 of you are going to vote yes, I don't think you need to unwind.
Well, I don't think we're there. And so I
No.
think then the other question is, do we have 2 votes that are no on the CBA? Because if we have 2 votes that are no on the CBA alone, if that were what was in
Yeah.
front of us, then there's also no point in unwinding. And so.
Does anyone have an issue with the CBA part?
I'm amenable to the CBA part.
I am amenable to the CBA part as well. We seem to be in lockstep today.
The CBA part seems unfortunately unavoidable to me, and a very small variance whereas the setback is avoidable. The CBA does not seem avoidable.
Particularly in light of the large size of the lot.
Right.
Large lot size requirement, I should say.
It is, to be fair, going to be a very oddly shaped
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
setbacks are always hard on an oddly shaped
Yeah.
lot.
I'm-
But I think given that it is just a garage,
I'm weirdly more uncomfortable with the lot shape than I am with the,
Yeah, I
with the
know.
setback.
I'm really worried about what happens
but-
when these lots go to someone else after this.
Yeah. These are the ones we look back at and say, where did this come from?
And this is the one that
Why?
makes lawsuits
Why
when
did someone
someone
agree to this?
do some, build something or cuts a tree down or,
I mean, I will say personally, I am not bothered by the setback. I get that it's elective, but it's also on the property abutting that of the person who is splitting the lot, right? And so, like, in
For
terms,
now.
sure, but that other person who would then buy it later knows what they're buying, right? Like, they're buying it with the knowledge that the property is a little bit on the closer side.
It is very
2.5
close.
feet closer, 2.7 feet closer.
It is very close to 60 full feet between the
Yeah.
buildings, and the closest part to the existing dwelling will be a garage where
Yeah.
there's no residents or
So-
people like looking through windows or.
So I will admit, when I looked at this beforehand, I assumed that everyone would just sort of out of hand be okay with the setback, and that we would be spending a lot of time hemming and hawing about the shape of this lot.
You know
so,
what they say about assuming.
Yeah, right. And I clearly have egg on my face because of the way this is going right now.
Well, so to that point, I'm new.
Yeah.
I don't see how you meet all the setbacks, and I don't have a measuring tool, and I only have my reading glasses and a teeny tiny print. How you move the lines to keep the field, deal with the wetlands and its requirements, leave the house that's there where it is, and
Oh.
then have the, like, I wouldn't even.
100%. I agree with that.
Okay.
It's more just that some lots are dividable in 2 and some are not.
Right.
Right. And so I was expecting more concern about, like, you're creating a lot that is moderately in good faith with the requirements, right? Like you are creating a whole section of the lot that will never be walked on, essentially, right? Like it's this tiny little strip that goes all the way out and around.
Right.
But that, so I expected more on that. I actually am okay with that, but because I appreciate all the other aspects that are going into this, but I expected more debate on that, and I'm a little surprised that it is as worrisome on a 2.7 foot setback on the other end.
I think if it were like the properties that we talked about on the other side of Dale Street, where it was like variances of like 20% or something like that, like huge variances, it's just because it's so small, even though it does create some very weird lots that could certainly become issues in future generations.
I think the lot sizes will become issues. I mean.
No, not the size of the
Is
shape.
the shape? I don't think that would become issue. I mean, it would really only become issue if somebody down the road thought that the whole entire back part was one piece of land and thought it could be sold to be developed.
Or if they thought the whole entire back lot was theirs and they decided to, like, let's say it stops being hayed, let's say it grows up into forest, and then someone is like, I want to clear all this forest and get my view back, and they cut down 200 trees on someone else's property, that's a huge lawsuit.
I
That's
mean,
like-
that is, but that's not, I mean,
To me, it's
I'm just saying, it's a weird one.
Like what mitigates the strange shape of the lot is the use of it. And I know that not necessarily permanent, but certainly, it sounds like all involved would like it to be permanent. And the fact that, as I understand it, this area back here is all used for, as a field.
well, isn't it all
Means-
wetlands?
No, it's
A
mostly within the
significant chunk of
buffer,
it.
but
But
it's
is it in the
mostly
buffer,
hay.
It's
like,
still field, right?
Could
I
you
mean,
build anything? Like, let's assume that we're not splitting the lot, right? And it's all one lot.
You're
Could you-
assuming that the worst thing that happens is a building gets split. Like, people
I
make
understand you're more
dirt
worried
bike
about
tracks.
trees,
People
but-
make dirt bike tracks around their back lots. Like there's
People
crazy
build
things that
walls.
people do.
Big.
Big long walls. Put
The
fences
worst
in
thing
random
that could
places.
happen is a house gets put on there.
But you can't.
But
You can't.
You don't have the frontage.
Right.
And you wouldn't have the CBA, or they're
Right.
not even, because there's no way you can
Well,
split
that-
it to another lot
But
after that.
but this is assuming that the only bad thing that happened is that a building gets
Your
put
worst
there.
thing is a tree getting cut down.
Or a
which I
dirt bike
appreciate.
farm, or like
A
you
dirt
could
bike farm?
dirt
What's a
bike
dirt
track.
bike farm?
Sorry, dirt bike track. Guys, I have seen a lot of things. When people think they have a lot of
fun to
land,
me.
when people think they have a lot of land in their backyard, a lot of crazy things happen because they think nobody else cares. But if it's not all their property, even though it seems like it totally would be, then that can be an issue. It certainly
Put up a
can be.
fence.
All right. So.
Very long, very weird fence.
All right, so in the interest of wrapping up this meeting at some point, are we still feeling like we want to unwind this at this point?
I think that's your
Well,
decision.
but I want people's feedback, because to me, this is a vote to close the public comment, close the deliberation and reopen public comment.
I'm not objecting, I wouldn't object to unwinding if you feel that the applicant didn't get a full-fledged explanation or feel of what they got.
I do not think they did, and so is someone willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to unwind the
To reopen
closing.
Just real.
Or
To
reopen
reopen public comment.
public comment, there we go.
Seconded.
All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
It's too-
No, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. All right, Mr. McCarthy, would you like to, or, yes?
Thank you
Dr.
for giving me a chance to speak again. My name's Arthur Gonzalez. As far as the corner of the lot, as I briefly alluded to, this wasn't in any way that the whole project going forward was contingent on the corner of the garage being 2 feet wider than it had to be. We would be happy to pull the plans, come back at the next meeting or whatever we have to wait, and have my architect just slice it to like a 2.5-foot garage, so like a mini car or a smaller car would still fit. And the other thing is that you say, why did you do it? The lots, every time the wetlands got measured, every single thing got shifted around on the property size and where everything was. So originally, the lot that I was getting was going to be huge, and there was going to be a lot of places to put the house. In respecting the field and the space, then we started inching it over to different places, and then with the frontage, with the space that we needed on the frontage, which we didn't know where that was, when we put the house in, we realized we had to push it back, and then that's when it got clipped. And it's just the way his existing house was, where we originally had it, it was just right in the middle of the lot to be in the front corner, and we were like, we're good. And then when everything was finally done, it was tight, and if we are allowed to withdraw your final vote, I'm not sure the protocol here.
So the protocol would be, we would continue the meeting to next month,
Yeah.
And then you would come back with a revised variance request
Okay.
for that.
Yeah, we-
That would be the protocol for this.
Yeah, I can speak for Joe that you'd agree with that, Joe. Yeah, so,
Yeah, and you would need to have updated plans
no,
to
yeah,
go with that.
we're getting him 3D and all that, so there'll be a lot more detail in the plans the next time anyway.
We'll say your other option, if you don't want to give up the garage, is to squeeze the front porch, just move it closer.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, it definitely could, the porch could be a little shorter, even just, so some of this was that I wanted the house straight with the street as well. He had it kitty cornered and it fit, and I didn't just like a kitty cornered house. You know, like I said,
We've got options.
there's options to do it, and I put this before it, and I really appreciate your grace to let us sort of get this right, because this wasn't actually
Well-
what we spent the year focused on. It was the
Yeah,
the
I
wetlands.
appreciate that, and, you know, I am, in my opinion, largely responsible here for not understanding our own rules about what can be separated and what can't when we vote. So
Yeah.
that's really on me.
Yeah, no, well, believe me, I just appreciate it. We're in no rush to get started, but 2 years would be a real killer. So we really, another
Yes.
month is no problem. We've been at it, on our end for more than a year.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I have nothing else unless there's a question.
All right. Yeah.
I mentioned several variances, CBA, and the one for 47%, 0 Winter Street, it was a variance, and there were 3 lots, lots 13, 14, and 15. In lot 13, they had a lower percentage of CBA, and it was denied
Yep.
by a board. Lot 14, they had a lower percentage of CBA, and it was denied by a board. Lot 15, a higher percentage, but still far from 75%,
Yep.
and it was approved. So you have one variance partially denied and partially,
So those were
approved.
different items because they were different lots. Right,
Okay.
so
they were severable.
If
Okay.
you think about it from like what's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for
right,
clarifying
We
that.
had a different item
Yeah.
on the agenda for each of those, and so that's why
Yeah.
they were considered separately.
so correct me if I'm mistaken, but what we're looking at is basically just taking out that 2.7-foot setback and update the variance, noting that, actually just exclude that from the variance, update the plot plan. How far do I have to go? Because this is really expensive. Do I have to put together another abutters list?
No, so
What
you
do I
should
have
not
to
need
do?
to do that because
I
it's a
don't.
continuance and it's not a new item,
Oh.
right? So if you withdrew
Thank you.
this and then you filed a
Thank
new
you.
one in like 4 months, then it
Okay.
would require that. But because it's a continuance, you don't need to. And then in terms of the plans, the number one thing is that we need to be able to see the floor plan on the map that is now conforming,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can cite that as the thing that we are approving. And whether you have the full breadth of designs like this is, I think, up to how much you want to convince the board that that design is
Yeah, we are.
worthwhile and fits. But to me, as long as it is a conforming footprint and then you are bound to that footprint, then I consider that sufficient for our records in terms of what we list in the
Okay, so minor variance and, a minor change in the variance, taking out the 2.7 feet, a minor change in the plot plan, and we're back the next month.
All right, so on our end, then, we need a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue 922 Dale Street until April 8th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. All right, thank you. And I apologize to make you go through the process again, but you do not need to submit another notice to.
Beg some grace from like a bunch of new positions on the
Yes.
board.
Well, I like to have those,
Oh, yeah.
well, those are dated, so I don't read those anymore.
But if you want them for reference, you can.
Did you get a letter? I don't have a letter in my packet.
I don't have a letter.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can table it.
Okay, so there's a 40B correspondence. Terry, do you have that letter for the 40B correspondence? Okay, yeah, I don't have it either. So, yeah, I think we should table that. I mean, officially, we don't have to make any comment or anything like that, but the whole purpose is for the board members to be given it and see it, so.
I'll make a motion to continue the acknowledgement of the 40B correspondence that's dated January 29th, 2025 regarding Orchard Village.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with me as
need a
I
motion
am
to adjourn.
learning the ropes here.
You wanna make
But do
Make
we-
a motion
I
to
was about to say,
adjourn
yeah.
the
a- I'll
meeting.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, everybody.